Max, I just want to start off by saying that, like just sort of sharing vulnerably with you, um, it meant so much to me that you said yes to coming back, like truly. Um, Especially because I had this story even when you were here the first time that like it wasn't working for you or that it like wasn't up to your standards. Like there was a decent amount of like vulnerability that I felt.
Oh, wow.
So I just want to let you know that it just really means a lot. It meant so much. So like, thank you.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate and enjoy the experiences that you create. Like, I thrive in these environments of like, I love having exciting things popping up and going around, like all the time, especially in the strange in and out of COVID safety world that we live in. It's so nice to just be surrounded in an environment where there are things and socializing happening that you can just go to and pop in and out of. I absolutely love that. And yeah, you've curated twice really beautiful experiences, and yeah, I will be back for more.
So I guess I think in some ways you answered this, but you know, I think I told you this, but you were also the first person to immediately say yes to coming to Experience House 2, which I so appreciate. And I guess I'm wondering, like why did you come back?
You come into a group with 20 to 30 to 40 people, and you're going to be living in close-ish quarters with them for a month. That can be intimidating, that can be scary. What's wild and what I want to share coming out of the experience, that I've now done this twice, and both times I come out with 4 or 5 of those people that I leave here just being incredibly deeply grateful that these people are now in my life, and friendships that are absolutely budding and emerging, and some business relationships that are great too. But like consistently 3, 4, 5 people that like will continue to be in my life in a very real way. People that as I travel the world, I can be very excited to like go visit and stay with and get to catch up with and have very real relationships with. And like, that's a beautiful and rare thing. And so it might seem like, oh my God, 30, 40 people, am I gonna like them? Am I gonna get along? But just consistently, I have found people here that have felt really wonderful to be around. And you don't have to hang out with everybody. You don't have to, spend all that time with everybody here. Though, of course, everybody has their own beautiful, wonderful merits and contributions and vibes. But you're not going to vibe with everybody. It's vibes, right? You don't vibe with everybody. You're a human being. You're not going to vibe with everybody. But both times, it's just like there are people that I have deeply, deeply connected with. And I'm just very grateful to know. And I wouldn't have known those people if it were not for this experience.
How has this felt? I'm mostly just like curious. It's not even necessarily for a testimonial, but like, how has this felt different than Guatemala? Like different than the last one?
I think here with all everything here was taken care of. Like rooms are being cleaned all the time. People cooking food for us 3 times a day. It's like we really could sit back and do nothing, which is a pretty rare thing. So I think that is one element. And then also here, there's more separation of people's rooms and homes. So it kind of feels more like you're living in your own space and you come together more on your speed. This felt like a more independent experience than Guatemala. And like, that works for me. I really liked both. In Guatemala, it was much more of like, there are 2 main houses. Most of us are spending most of the time in those houses. So there's much more togetherness, which I think has its pros and cons, but I think it's nice now that you have 2 spaces that you can do this, with. And if I'd say people who are more interested in having their own space, Morocco is probably going to be a better fit. People who are more interested in like a big togetherness co-living experience, I think Guatemala was more of that.
Cool. Something that I've actually been asked is like, how is this different, for someone like you who has like a lot of really amazing people in your life, who has a lot of connections, who is somewhat nomadic, at least now. I've gotten the question of like, so how is this different than me maybe like basing in Austin or something for a month and connecting with all the people that I know in Austin, right? How is this different than what I would normally experience in New York City? Like, what would you say to this?
Co-living sounds strange. That sounds like a strange thing. What does that mean? Everybody's like living together, you're all in one room, like in one house. Do you have your own space? I don't want to live with a whole bunch of strangers. And one thing I want to say just from like experiencing it is, especially in Morocco, I'd say less so in Guatemala than Morocco, but especially for this space, you really feel like you have your own space, you have your own house, and you are there and can be as independent as you'd like to be. And there's just lots of people around. And like when you go outside, there is no shortage of activities happening and social things you can participate in. And that just feels really nice and welcoming and fulfilling. Can still go into town, can go leave and do things as much as you want to and not be a part of the group. I find that most people just want to be a part of the group because there's really interesting, exciting things happening. And part of a crux of this being a lot of experienced designers is that people are eager to put on stuff for each other, whether that's musical stuff. There was a storytelling event that Brenton did this time that was really wonderful. And there's just like lots of activities and things happening here that you wouldn't really be able to get in without putting a lot of work and planning and effort into it in another place. And so how wonderful that you can come here, live, have so many things taken care of for you, be in this beautiful place, and just be surrounded by so much interesting excitement.
This also might be redundant, but when you were inviting other people, like nominating other people to come, what were you telling them about this?
It's a group of really thoughtfully curated people who are living in not a shared house, but a shared space. A shared house if you want to, but you can absolutely have your own space and kind of live on your own and dip in and out. It's people putting on experiences for each other, playing music for each other, and it's just a really fulfilling environment for me to be a part of, and it's something that I'll do again.
So I guess just the general question of like, how has this month affected you? Like, how are you leaving this time different than how you came in?
I feel like I've made like a handful of just like very real friends, like that will absolutely, that I will carry that with me out into the world. I'm very excited to deepen with all of those people. I'm very excited to have them in my life, and I wouldn't have had that if it weren't for this experience. Also, just like making friends as an adult is a weird thing of its own. And so to be able to have this kind of condensed time where there is more natural interactions, shared activities, ways to get to know each other through just like being playful, I really appreciate that. And that has, facilitated very real connections for me that I'm excited to keep in touch with.
Beautiful. That's amazing too, considering that you are leaving early and that it's only been 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I feel as confident that these friendships will blossom and continue outside of the space, and I do.
So, Max, I know that you do attend a lot of events with a lot of very interesting people in different parts of the world. And I guess I'm just wondering, like, what do you feel is unique about this one?
Yeah, if you're someone who lives somewhat nomadically, if you don't know where you're paying rent in this month, like this feels like a no-brainer to me if you are interested in this type of experience, because it's the cost is mostly your rent, and you get a whole bunch of food and experience and other things that comes in with it. And this is slightly more expensive than the rent that I usually pay, but once food is factored in and just like the general, not spending any money on socializing because I'm doing it all here and having an absolute great time, it's just like, it's a no-brainer, and I would so much rather be here than, drop a couple $1,000s on a weekend conference where people are networking and being in a vibe that I don't particularly resonate with. And so, I think especially if you're already living a nomadic style life, like feels like a money no-brainer.
So Experience House is designed in some ways to be different every time. Like it's like that's part of the idea, right? Is that it's new people, it's sometimes different locations, and therefore it's going to be something new every single time. And I guess as someone who has been to both, what can you bank on when coming to an experience like this at this point, right? Like having done two, like if there, what's sort of the through line would you say at this point in terms of your experience?
Yeah, I think for me it's like I get condensed time on a schedule that suits me because I can always choose how much to participate in things or not participate in things with people that are really fascinating and interesting and cool. Like that has been consistent for me through the two times. There have been people that I've left this experiencing with being like, oh yes, like just love how that person's showing up in the world. I'm so excited that they're in my life. And that has happened 2 for 2.
I asked you this question last time. I'm wondering if it's going to be the same answer or different. from your perspective, what is Experience House? How would you describe like this, what we're doing here?
Experience House is a thoughtfully curated group of people in a beautiful place, creating experiences for one another and having a good time doing it.
Would you come back here again, and if so, why?
I am excited to do this again. Why? It's the value of new significant relationships in my life. It's like that is a really valuable thing to me. And to have 2 for 2 in experiences where I come in, I'm living my life in a beautiful place, and don't have to think about food. I'm weird with food. Don't like having to think about food. Food is just taken care of. How wonderful. Living in a beautiful place around exciting new people. And to come away from that 2 for 2 times with people, with like 3 or 4 handful of people that I'm just like really excited to have in my life and I wouldn't have otherwise. That's really valuable to me. And so the idea of doing that again, yes, of course, I am excited to be back.
Like, where do you see the potential for this if it were to be really like the most impressive or valuable or dialed in version that you could think of?
I wouldn't change the structure I'm down for more of this. And like you'll get better at it as you go. You'll find kinks and you'll sort them out and things will change and be different. But like I don't see the need for massive innovation. I like your core product. Yeah.
Would you be open to coming to like shorter things as well? If it was, in part like reunion based as well?
Maybe case by case thing. It's like in Morocco, it's a lot of travel for shorter.
For sure. More convenient.
Yeah, but I was here this time for 2 weeks, and that's an experience that I'm glad I had.
Yeah.
And that is interesting because I would have been hesitant to fly to Morocco for 2 weeks.
Right.
I guess 3 weeks. When did we get here?
Well, if you're Thursday, 2.5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Max. I won't take any more of your time. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.